Okay, a very warm welcome to all of you. This is our last Chillin with Chitnis session for 2022. Where has the year gone? Don't ask me. I'm sure you guys are thinking the same thing. It has been an amazing year, though, of just connecting with all of you and serving all of you with all of our different programs and especially our educational series, these webinars. A lot of you have faithfully attended every single one, and for that we thank you, and we're glad to have you back with us tonight. As you guys know, November is National Family Caregiver Month, and so because of that we thought we would have a specific focus on caregiving. And so Dr. Shilpa Chitnis, who is a movement disorder specialist at UT Southwestern and serves on our board at SkyPass Foundation, she'll be sharing a little bit about what it looks like to build your Parkinson's care team beyond just your movement disorder specialist. This is an informal conversation, so we welcome interaction, we welcome questions. You can do that verbally by unmuting yourself, or you can put it in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. And this is being recorded, but if you're on video, your video will not be shown in the final edit. So don't worry about that if that's of concern to you. We are going to start off by hearing a little bit from Shilpa on building that Parkinson's care team. We'll take some audience questions, and then for the second half of our time together, we're going to chat with the wonderful ladies of Joy Care Management. Joe and Hope are with us tonight and going to be sharing some perspectives from a professional care management standpoint. So with that, Shilpa, let's go ahead and jump in.
Thank you, Shelley. And hello, everybody. So nice to see you. And then welcome to our guest. Building a movement disorder team really, just depends on the stage of the disease that a patient in. So let's just start right from the beginning. So if you are a newly diagnosed patient with Parkinson's disease, I think it's really important in today's day and age with movement disorders as a specialty being available. And, quite a few, at least in our community, we are lucky. We have almost like 10 people who are fellowship trained in movement disorders. So I think it is important to have your care under the auspices of a movement disorder specialist. Now, I understand that the volumes are so high that the number of patients to the number of physicians ratio, is terrible. And so essentially it may not always be possible for a movement disorder specialist to see, a patient at every follow-up. And so I think the things that we do, and I know I use the same resources. So I basically like to see a patient as a new patient, generate a, very detailed plan for them, and, give the plan to them. And what I usually tell them is, if, we do have bandwidth, for our PA and nurse practitioner to follow up these patients. We will be adding a third nurse practitioner at UT Southwestern. So we'll have more bandwidth, but, they can also go back and see their general neurologist in the community. So I will say that some patients do not like to see physician extenders. And I think that, my personal, I don't have a personal preference one way or the other, but I can certainly say that the PA and the NP, the PAs and the NPs that are in our practice are very well trained. They have a lot of experience. They engage in the, same educational conferences that we put together for our fellows. So they are very evidence-based, and they're also very, sensitive to the fact that if there is, something that is beyond the scope of their training, that they send the chart over to the physician in the, in the Epic. Epic is our, is our software that we use, the electronic medical record that we use for software for taking care of patients. And so they'll send the chart over to us, and then we will, try to schedule the patient either in person or on a virtual visit. But if you prefer that, a neurologist be involved in the care, then my suggestion is to partner up with a movement disorder specialist that can see you maybe once a year, and a neurologist that can see you maybe, once or twice a year. So there are lots of good community neurologists, and as long as I can write a very nice plan, and the patients have access to their note through, through my chart, or I'll just print and give a note, and I'll send a note if you tell me which general neurologist you want to see, or I'll make recommendations based on the community in which they live, then I can send the note to them myself through the electronic record system. There is a Care Everywhere platform, or we have connections so that it can be faxed directly, so that way they have access to to our note, and then they can follow those guidelines. So that is when you're starting out. Now, a lot of times so there is basically medical management of Parkinson's disease, and there is, of course, as the disease advances, surgical management of Parkinson's disease, and I'll get back to that a little later. But there is also something that's called maintenance of health in patients with Parkinson's. So what are some of the things that a Parkinson's patient absolutely has to do? So the number one thing is really exercise, because I think exercise is really important. If you are really quite overweight and not close to your body mass index for your height, then you need to really start working to reduce weight. At times I will refer these patients to a weight loss clinic, so that's another care partner for you. There's a nutritionist that's involved that can generate a plan for your caloric intake. But otherwise you can see a physical therapist, and it is really important to see a physical therapist that is really specialized in the LSVT big program, which has been developed specifically for patients with Parkinson's. If you go to lsvtglobal.com, they have a very nice way of you put in your zip code, and then you look at which LSVT trained specialist is available within 10 miles or 20 miles, whatever suits you. And there is a lot of trained physical therapists that are trained in the big therapy. So this is not just generic physical therapy that you would do if you have back pain or you have a stroke. This is a very Parkinson specific physical therapy. So you should really go to a big therapist. Now, if you want to work out with a trainer, that's fine. I think boxing, a lot of the boxing things that are available. So I think it is important to do your research and talk to the people that you're going to work with and how much experience they have in this in boxing, and what are kind of safety things that they have in place, because some patients may not have very good balance, and you certainly don't want patients to be falling. And so you want to make sure that you talk to these people before you sign up for the program. And you also want to make sure check in with your primary care doctor, make sure that that boxing is okay for you, like at your age, or what other comorbid medical illnesses that you have to really make sure that you are approved by your primary care doctor to participate in programs, or your neurologist. I don't know all the medical issues, but from a neurological standpoint, I can certainly say if you can do a particular, especially if the program is of a little bit higher intensity. Some people want to do interval training, high intensity interval trainings, and some people want to do boxing, and then so on and so forth. So exercise is really important. People do Tai Chi, people go to classes at the gym. Yoga is certainly something that is very good. So those things are very, very important. Then every patient with Parkinson's disease really needs to see a dermatologist. Can primary care doctors do a very good job of screening for skin cancer? I'm sure, the seasoned ones and the family practitioners are trained in that, but I really suggest that once a year you go and see a board certified dermatologist. Not every dermatologist is very well versed with the fact that Parkinson's patients have a higher incidence of melanoma. And so I think, we try to educate the dermatologists. We send referrals. The dermatologists at UT Southwestern certainly, get referrals from us, but everybody has a long wait time. So my suggestion is usually talk to your primary care doctor and see if they have a dermatologist that they routinely refer to, and then go ahead and, go see the dermatologist, because there is a, really high 2.5 to 3 times higher risk of developing melanoma in patients with Parkinson's disease. So definitely make a dermatologist part of your care team. Samantha Ellendery at the Parkinson's Voice Project will tell you that, people can have low speech volume at any stage of the disease. So I see some patients that have really, low speech volume, although they've just recently been diagnosed. So, when I see a patient, I usually, actually have a decibel meter that Samantha gave me in 2007 when I moved here. But I can tell, just my ears are trained to hear. So I'm saying, the spouse will say, "Oh, no, the speech volume is fine," and then I'll be talking to them during the course of the interview and say, "No, your speech volume is, slightly low." And so I usually send them. I'm not an expert in speech and language pathology, so I usually send them to the, to a therapist that is either trained in Speak Out, which is the trademark program for the Parkinson's Voice Project, or if people do not live in the proximity of the Parkinson's Voice Project, or PVP as we fondly call them, then lsvtglobal.com again can help you find a LSVT trained speech therapist, and you need to really work with them. And one of the important things that patients need to understand is, once you have you've been told that you have low speech volume and you need to undergo the program, you have to do those exercises. I would be really happy if you did it every day, but at least 5 days a week. And what I tell patients is, do you eat every day? And they look at me like I've lost my marbles. But it's like, if you eat every day, do your speech exercises so that you're able to retain the strength in the muscle, so that you're able to swallow without aspirating. And aspiration is such a terrible thing to happen. Is the number one cause of death in patients with Parkinson's. So we talked about, some patients require occupational therapy, and I send them to those people, and they can work with you. Other things. So of course, internist, I think, is very important. Everybody, really the neurologist and the internist should be at the center of, your management as far as Parkinson's disease goes. Then other things are, patients with Parkinson's disease can develop anxiety and depression and cognitive issues. So a visit with the psychiatrist, I think, is very important. And the psychiatrist may assign you to see a cognitive behavioral therapist. Not every problem can be solved with a pill. Sometimes, we need to use these ancillary therapies. So cognitive behavioral therapy, I think, is an integral part of, coping with a new diagnosis, coping with a progression of a disease that we know at this point does not have a cure. But so that's really important. And then, of course, sometimes I have patients who have really intractable constipation that is even beyond the scope of what I can do, although I have lots of tricks up my sleeve because, in my bag, because I've been doing this for a long time. But occasionally I will refer a patient to a gastroenterologist for management of, motility disorders, so and constipation. And then, some patients have problems, older males, especially, or females, have urological problems as because of aging. But Parkinson's patients can have, what is called nocturnal polyuria, so nighttime excessive urination. Some people have incontinence. If, of course, you have atypical forms of Parkinsonism, such as MSA, then incontinence autonomic dysfunction can certainly be a problem. And so I would refer patients to basically see a urologist, not a neurologist, a neurologist without a N, so it is a urologist, and that would take care of, and sometimes, older patients will have prostate problems, and the urologist can definitely help you deal with those issues. I'm trying to make sure there is anything I missed per se. So this is really, a multidisciplinary. Now, my friend Indu Subramaniam at UCLA has really developed a very nice holistic, yoga mindfulness program. I think this is really important. Like, just like I said, everything cannot be fixed by a physician. Everything cannot be fixed with a pill. So having these holistic, therapies, whether it is yoga, whether it is mindfulness, I think that these things are important. And I think for Parkinson's patients, I think they are very helpful. Keeping not just your body healthy, but also your mind healthy is very integral, as your disease progresses. And so I think, Shelly, it's just tough. The last but not the least, I do want to add, as the disease progresses and advanced therapies are required, then you may see a gastroenterologist for DUOPA, which is the levodopa carbidopa intestinal gel. Also, a neurosurgeon that can be involved, that can basically do deep brain stimulation for Parkinson's disease. We work with a neuroradiology team in combination, in partnership with the neurosurgeon that can sometimes do high frequency ultrasound. That is for, patients with Parkinson's disease that have tremor, any tremor disorder, but patients with Parkinson's disease, let's say if they have very, unilateral tremor, they have tremor predominant disease, they don't want to, drill holes in their skull and put wires in there. So high frequency ultrasound, with both the the thalamus target as well as the globus pallidus target has been approved for unilateral, care of patients with Parkinson's. So a neurosurgeon, certainly, neuroradiologist on our team are very important. Battery replacement, again, a neurosurgeon that is trained in movement disorders is what is required. So I think I really covered pretty much every single specialty that is involved in the care of Parkinson's patients. So, again, like I said, ancillary therapies and multidisciplinary care is really very important. And then, you should be talking to your physicians about getting referrals for all of these, services automatically. For someone like myself, who only practices movement disorders and works with a multidisciplinary team. A social worker, last but not the least, is also very important, because a social worker can help find resources, can help find nursing homes, can help sometimes with, insurance plans, can help with, what things will cover. So I think social worker is a very, very important. Unfortunately, the social worker is not always available in a clinic. So, but there are social workers, outside that do consulting and sometimes, accept Medicare or commercial insurances. So they are very important, I think. Okay, questions.
Cool. Okay, so that was great, Shilpa. Thank you. As a reminder to those of you guys that are joining us live, you can put your questions in the chat box. Feel free to ask them verbally as well, but if you're shy and would rather type them up, that's completely fine. As you're thinking through your questions, I'm going to start off with some questions that we got at with registration. So one of the questions was, this is from a care partner. Ideas for motivating my loved one with Parkinson's who can speak and move with intent, but chooses not to make it a habit. He says that it's work and doesn't want to do it. So Shilpa, any thoughts on motivating people with Parkinson's? And actually, I think this is a great question to open up to you guys as well. If there are any care partners that are on here that would like to share, feel free to do so. But Shilpa?
Yeah, so, there are, I have patients who tell me, I'm not going to do speech therapy, I don't like it. And I'm sorry, I say, okay, like, you understand the risks. You understand the risks that you could end up having aspiration pneumonia. And at your age, and if it's an advanced stage of Parkinson's disease, that, this could be fatal. So, I want you to understand these risks. I also, what I have learned as my hair has gone gray is, rather than getting upset at people for the things that they do not know, I'd like to understand why they do not do, things that they're required to do. One of the most important things is apathy. Apathy is such a problem, and does not have, Brad and, us and Mike Brace have talked about how do we recognize apathy, how do we treat apathy. So that's a big problem. So rather than getting mad at your loved one, you really need to say, you understand the risks, right? You understand what this means, and we're trying to help you live the best life in spite of the disease. And so what are some of the barriers in you not wanting to do it? Can I do it with you? Sometimes, I mean, Samantha has a 10 a.m. every single day. I think, I hope she still has it, and people can join on there. I encourage for, family members, care partners to join with them. I encourage for family members to just do the exercises. Okay, let's get your binder and let's go like, and ooh, and moo, and whatever it is that they make them do, right? So I think sometimes just enabling them by partnering with them, but I think group really helps. I think, I mean, I don't know if Parkinson's Voice Project is open now. Samantha does these exercises, used to do them at least before the pandemic. Pat can tell you more, but that would be taking them to a class, taking them to a group class. If this starts out at the Parkinson's Voice Project, we don't have a group class. And then, I mean, those are some of the strategies, I guess, or getting to do exercise together with some friends, get together for, and give them an incentive. I'm going to make you breakfast. I'm going to make your favorite eggs, and, let's go do some exercises before that. Anyway.
Bribe them with food. I like it. Anyone else have any suggestions based on your experiences, either as a care partner or maybe as a person with Parkinson's? Anyone want to speak up and share?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Chillin?
Yes. Hey, Luke.
Hey, Dr. C. You look fabulous.
You are too kind.
I just wanted to say that I experience a lack of dopamine as not being able to motivate myself to get out of bed, not able to take care of the cat, too much trouble to do what I need to do to keep my bills paid, and everything mounts up. If one has to make the effort, one has to make the effort. Parkinson's does not control you. You control Parkinson's. If you make your mind up that you're going to come out of this relatively, I want to say, on your own terms. If you lie back and play dead, Parkinson's is going to get you. There is absolutely no question. So when it's raining in the morning at 7:30 a.m. and I don't want to go out for my walk, I get my butt up and I go for a walk. And generally in the first 10 minutes, 5 minutes, I'm feeling good about it. By the end of my walk, I feel great. I accomplished something today. If I don't do my voice exercises every single morning, I don't sound like this. And you remember when we met, Dr. C, I could barely speak.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Luke. That's great. Very, very motivational. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Speaking of speech exercises and just rehab therapies in general, we had a couple questions that asked when to begin rehab therapies for Parkinson's. Is it before noticing specific voice impairments or once they start, and physical impairments? So pertaining to physical and speech, physical and voice.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Okay, can you please repeat that question again? I got a little distracted.
Not a problem. When do we begin rehab therapies for Parkinson's? Is it before noticing physical or voice impairments or once those arise?
Early, as early as possible. Like I said, I'm not a speech language therapist. In fact, every newly diagnosed patient with Parkinson's disease, it's not a bad idea to get a baseline speech and physical therapy assessment from an expert in that field. Let Samantha tell you, you do not need speech therapy right now, right? Let Stacey Sheeran or Mike Brace tell you, you're not in need of LSVT big right now, but do your exercises. I think early. I mean, because they can, a person that's an expert in that field can identify a deficit that I cannot identify. And so I encourage everybody to get a baseline speech and physical therapy.
In other words, if you're not doing it, it should be because the professional or the expert in the field told you that it's not necessary.
Correct.
Not
If Samantha says if Samantha says your decibel is at the level I like, but she'll probably tell the family member the minute you feel like the speech volume has gone low, or I'm always very alert. Come back and we'll do the the speak out. But I would say early.
Pat in the chat says Parkinson Voice Project has online daily voice exercises for those with PD. It's online on their website and I believe on Facebook as well. And I think on YouTube, they stream it live. I think it's every morning at 10 a.m. Central. And Dr. Chitnis encourages us to do 150 minutes of exercise a week, which is wonderful. So thank you, Pat, for sharing that. Michelle says, I'm a speech pathologist at PVP, confirming that the home practice sessions continue to be offered Monday through Friday at 10. Very good. Thank you, Michelle. There's also a find a provider page to help people connect with speech language pathologists who offer speak out. Oh, wonderful.
Oh, that is great. I did not know that. And Michelle, can I ask you a question? If I can answer, sorry, Shelley, may I?
You're
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, absolutely. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Michelle, do you agree with me that it is not a bad idea to do a baseline evaluation with a speech language pathologist and let them decide if the patient needs ST or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me? Am I able
Yeah.
to speak? Okay. Yeah, it's not a bad idea at all. I highly recommend that. Sometimes there are subtle things that a speech pathologist can recognize that might not be noticeable as any kind of a problem for communication, but it's just the kind of the beginnings, and we can notice those little subtle things.
Yep, I've only been doing this. Thank you, Michelle. I've been only doing this for 20 years or more, but I'm a firm believer of these therapies, really.
So here's a question for you. How do you get the care team to communicate to each other? And I'd be curious from your perspective, as a movement disorder specialist, do you communicate with different specialties, across different specialties with a patient's care team?
Yes, I call everybody on my way home on my phone, right? So I mean, Samantha and their team are always sending me emails. So we're always talking to each other. They have a way of sending a secure email. Samantha will alert me if there's a patient of mine who's not doing well and, needs for me to get in. So that's good. Even people in the community will send me an email. My email is very easily available. I mean, I don't want everybody to send me a blast email. UT Southwestern will kill me. But a lot of people send me an email. Now, within our system, we talk to each other through Epic, and that's the easiest thing to do. So I'll basically forward my chart and send a note saying, hey, Stacy, this patient's not doing that great. Can you bring them back for a refresher? Do you need a referral, or will your office just call them? So for all of the people, all the people that are involved in the care team that work at UT Southwestern, we are able to talk to each other on the on Epic. But I highly encourage people that are outside, if they have a concern with the patient, to just send me a message and just say secure mail, so that way it becomes secure. It's through Outlook.
So is that something that the patient would initiate in terms of making sure their care team gets connected, or is that on the movement disorder specialist to ask that question and get connected with everyone?
So I mean, I usually, take the initiative to connect with people. I think lots of times the therapists take the initiative to connect with me, like Mike Praise will send me a message. But the patient can certainly, I don't want the patient to send me a message. They can send me a message through my chart, not through email. But if they send me an email, I will not respond. UT Southwestern will kill me. But I encourage people to send me a my chart message. And then sometimes people will say, can you talk to my psychiatrist? Here's their number. I'll just call them. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's work, and but I mean, that's what you have to do, right? And so I usually call everybody on my way, to work or on my way back to home, and I'll just call people and say I mean, I like to have a chart in front of me, because I'm pretty sure I can't remember every single patient that I see. I don't think my memory is that great. So I like to have a chart in front of me. So I'll call during lunch hour. I'll stay back a few extra minutes to, complete those calls. But yeah, I mean, I personally, and I hope other people are doing it, but I like to, be in touch with other providers, especially if there is a concern, right? Or if they have questions for me.
I don't know if you can answer this question, and if the person that submitted this question is on, feel free to provide more context. But the question is, how do you get a non-movement disorder specialist on your care team to look at your lab from a PD perspective? Is that a question?
Lab? You say lab?
Lab, yeah.
Labs, yeah. So, I mean, depends on what labs you're getting. I mean, most of us who have an MD degree can pretty much look at every lab, and, unless it's a very specialized lab. I mean, what are the kind of labs I ask people with Parkinson's disease to get? I ask them to get vitamin B12, because levodopa interferes with, absorption of B12. For bone health, I ask them to get vitamin D and calcium, right? If they are taking certain medications for which I need to monitor labs such as, kidney function, liver function, cell count, then, I mean, I can basically review those. And the general neurologist should also be able to review those.
Okay. Any other questions before we switch gears here? Does anyone have anything to add or anything to share? One of the important aspects of caregiving is also perhaps involving a professional care management team. And with that in mind, I'm happy to introduce you guys to Joy Care Management, our special guest for tonight. We've got Joe and Hope, who are the owners and founders and nurses at Joy Care Management. And we've got a lot of folks from Dallas on this call. We also have a lot of folks outside of the Metroplex. And so they actually service individuals all across the country. And so I am going to hand it over to them, and I'm just going to spotlight your window here. Welcome, ladies, and please share a little bit about the services that you guys provide and what you've seen so far in the Parkinson's population that you guys serve.
Well, thank you. I'll speak first, and I know Joe's going to join in. I'm Hope Self. This is Joe Alch. We're both registered nurses. And we, just from our experience, we saw that there was a need out there to help coordinate care. People didn't know where to turn, what to do. So basically, we work with adults that need direction in what to do. For example, we have families that said, you know, my mom and dad need to go to the doctor. We can't drive them. I need you to tell me what the doctor says. So we will take people to doctor visits. We'll call the families back and say, this is what the doctor really said. We will speak on behalf of patients. You know, if a doctor prescribes something and the patient doesn't want to take it, we'll advocate for the patient, talk like that. We do everything from, reconcile medications. If one doctor orders one thing and another doctor orders something contraindicated, we'll work through those things with the pharmacy and try to get a resolution. We take people on, socialized outings just to decrease isolation in the home. We've taken ladies, we have a group called the Lunch Bunch. We went and saw matinee, a show at theater the other day, and then we saw what was that movie we saw? Tom Hanks. Yeah, anyway, we try to decrease isolation with people that live by themselves. So we do a lot of things like that, and you can add on.
Yeah, we just basically we're the squeaky wheel. So, not every physician is like Dr. Chitnis. If every physician were like her, we wouldn't need to be, they wouldn't need any geriatric care managers or care managers. But a lot of times, families, they're so overwhelmed, and a doctor may say, you've got Parkinson's. That's all they hear. They don't hear everything else that they need to do to be proactive. And so we step in to help the families, help the adult children, help the clients, and we want the best case scenario for that client. And sometimes we're there to take the keys away. Sometimes we're there for the patient when the adult children are in such denial. They just do not want to accept that their parents are aging. And so we're there just to be an advocate for the family. We encourage the exercise. We try to figure out a care plan, an individualized care plan, to work with the doctor, to work with the therapist, to make sure they're getting their exercise, they're taking their meds when they're supposed to. If we see concerns or changes, we will message Dr. Chitnis. So, sometimes changes can be subtle, but we've been doing this a long time. And so the goal really is for best practices. No matter what their we are private pay, but no matter what the financial situation is for that client, we will help them find the right resources.
Right. And like for example, we had a couple that moved here from California and they didn't drive. And so they needed to see a dentist. So I was able to get a dentist that would come to the home, a podiatrist that would come to the home to see them. I would take her out to get labs done and bring back. So we do a care plan for that family, and we meet them where they are. So
and everybody wants to stay at home and age in place. Sometimes it's just a matter of us going in and saying, you know what, we need to change the rugs here. We need to move the master downstairs. Just simple things that sometimes you don't think about, simple things that can make your life so much less stressful. Maybe the spouse has always done the housework, but she's overwhelmed. And so maybe helping find the right housekeeper once a week just to take the stress off. So we're there to just make the situation easier. We can't change the situation, but we can make it easier for the client and their families.
Right.
Amazing. Shilpa, did you have any questions? If not, I have a couple. Sorry, I caught you mid chew.
Sorry.
Um,
No.
okay, I'll go ahead. Joe and Hope, what would you say to someone that is outside of the Metroplex that wants to enlist your services? How does that work?
Well, and fortunately, we have Zoom and FaceTime and Skype, and we have Teams. We have all kinds of things where we can basically see the client just like we're seeing you guys. So we've had clients out of state. We still do the background work. We do the phone calls. We do the homework, but we do most everything interaction with conversations via Zoom or FaceTime. And it's amazing with FaceTime how many people you can add on to a call. So we had a family in Colorado. I had a call with. They had family members in Manhattan. They had family members in Florida, family members in Louisiana, and we were all on this call together. So we're so blessed now to have those type of resources that we didn't have 10 years ago, so we're always available. One thing about us, we're kind of like an ER, we're always open. So we're here if somebody needs, if there's a fall, if there's say you've got a loved one that you're the caregiver and you've got to go out of town, but you want to make sure mom is getting her meds over the weekend. We can follow up or we can check in. There's just a number of things we can do to keep your loved one or yourself safe at home.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, this is Karen. I'm sorry I kind of got in late here, and I'm the caregiver for Dale. I don't know those two ladies. It's nice to know you're there, but therein lies the problem. If you're a caregiver, where do we go to access? We don't know what we don't know.
I know.
We don't know where to go. Is there a portal or something which would be really nice, under Parkinson's? Dale has MSA, and you go, okay, this is what happened at this Zoom meeting. This is the palliative doctor I need to see, or a social worker will cover what's her scope of items that she covers, what you ladies do, and how are you accessed. But I don't know, I've never seen of anything, and unless a nurse practitioner or someone mentions it, we don't know about it, and it's extremely frustrating.
It is, and that's why we're trying so hard. We do podcasts like this. We speak. I'm speaking at an event tomorrow, so it's getting the word out that this resource, it's a nurse navigator. There are nurses all over the country that do this type of service, and it's so needed. I mean, our own parents, we're sisters, both RNs, but our own parents were both dealing with dementia, different types at the exact same time in 2 different states. And there was such a challenge. And had we not been nurses, we would not have known the resources. And so we felt like, you know what, if we were lost, imagine someone that doesn't know the healthcare system. So what we're in a group called the Aging Life Care Association. We get calls from companies, corporations that know about us, but really it's just getting the word out. We will meet, we do a consultation, we'll do a 30-minute consultation, it's complimentary, and just kind of get some facts on what's going on, what your needs are, where you are, and we just go from there. So, hopefully the word will get out, as our geriatric population continues to grow. Will be a great resource, and people will know of nurse navigators.
Thank you for that question. Anyone else have any questions? There's a couple coming into my chat here. Here's one. Can you help coordinate care in emergency situations?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
right. We're on call 24/7. So yeah, but we will come out if you're having some symptoms, and we will go out to the house. We'll take your vitals, just see is this, and we can call the doctor on your behalf and say this is what's going on. These are her blood pressure, and this is the meds she's taken, and what do we need to do? And so,
Well,
yeah.
and I got a call a couple of weeks ago. A family wanted to meet and they had heard about me and they were concerned about their mom. Well, I got out to the home and immediately I told the family to call 911. So it saved her life. I mean, honestly, the family did not know that their mother was in a critical situation. And, that's, I think, just any kind of situation, whether it be sometimes we've had patients that are appropriate for hospice and they just need that additional opinion, those additional eyes, or, we've had clients that have needed IV fluids. And so we can connect them to those. Maybe they've had a stomach bug and they haven't eaten very well for a few days, but they just need a little oomph. So there are all kinds of things, but yes, we're available 24/7. We have a team of 3 of us. We do have a couple of other nurses that are coming on in 2023. So, the demand is there. So we're here for you.
And I got a question here that I'm trying to figure out how to word this in a way that's easy to understand. So I think what this person is asking is there some kind of a portal? So, okay, so let's just say they enlist your services and they're in. Is there some kind of a portal that houses all the information about all of their different therapists and all of the information you guys are exchanging back and forth?
Yeah, right. We have a program online that we use, and it's called Care Tree. And we input all the information, the meds they're on, the primary care doctor, any specialist.
And the family can log in,
Right.
or the client can log in and, allow any family member, whoever he wants, to log in
Right.
for that information.
Yeah. And let's
Okay.
just say Joe is out of town and the family calls me. I can look and see, oh, this is the primary care. This is who we need to call, that type thing. So yeah.
Got it. Okay. Shilpa, any questions?
I don't know whether I missed this, but did you say that you do not take insurance?
We do not. We are private pay. Yeah, we don't. There are social workers and in rehabs, and I know with palliative care, they have a social worker on their team. Home healths have a social worker. They have so many patients. It's really hard to spend the detailed time that we can do, but we are private pay.
Right. But if people call us and they need resources, we're glad to give them
Absolutely.
resources like the senior source, all kinds of resources, VA, if they're veterans, there are a lot of resources out there that people don't know about that we're glad to give them information. So,
Do you guys have a website with
We
all
do.
the services that you provide and all the resources?
We do. It's joycaremanagement.com. And our site, Hope checked it today. There were some issues. So it should be up and running again tomorrow. So I talked to our partner that's working on the website. So, but
Sure.
you can call us anytime.
yeah.
Okay, great. And I'll be sending out a follow-up email to everyone that's on this webinar with that information. What other questions do you guys have? Keep them coming. We still have a few minutes left. Let me just scroll through here and see if there's anything that hasn't been answered.
One thing I want to say is just to compliment Dr. Chitnis, how important it is to be proactive. We've both been nurses for over 25 years, and really just do what the doctor says, because they have been doing this for so many years. They say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But really do listen to what the doctor says. And she is so good at what she does. And that's our goal too, is making sure you do stay proactive, you know, and just stay ahead of the game. And that's what's going to keep you healthy.
Great advice.
No, absolutely. I'm just looking at your website. I know the services are not updated right now, but I'm sure they will be. But I highly encourage everybody to take a look and see. I wish there was a way we could do concierge service for movement disorder neurologists. I'd just start a shop somewhere. But I mean, there is concierge in telemedicine. What is it called? I forget the name.
Concierge medicine. There are a lot of.
There's a number of various things. But I mean, eventually, I think there will be one for neurologists.
Well, and they're concierge physical therapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist. So, they go, you can go through Medicare, but you may only get X number of visits. But we have clients that want that therapy and are willing to pay the extra because they want to just, they want to pay for it and they've got the money to. Not everybody does, but, that's really, we have great resources for that as well.
Yeah.
Well, I remember from Samantha's experience when I remember in 2007, she had first started, what used to be called the Texas Voice Project. And the biggest challenge was that the Medicare did not quite pay enough for the extensive 1-hour service that the speech language pathologist provided. And so it was not reimbursement enough to be able to, pay people and do all of those things. So I think necessity is the mother of invention, and that led to, the formation of the Parkinson's Voice Project in the current shape and form. But medical care, is expensive. Even with people who have, very good insurance, I know from my own personal experience, that medical care is not cheap. But I guess, I mean, you guys are serving a little bit of a unique population because, I will be very honest, most of the population, so many of my patients, when I want to start them on new medications, that they're like, oh, my copay is $50 a month. And, this is where I think it has been very humbling for me because, somebody said to me something costs $50 a month. I wouldn't even, blink an eyelid, but I have to really think about my patients who are on very limited, social security. And I don't get into people's business, what they did for a living and how much money they saved. But, if somebody says, Dr. Chitnis, you're on very limited income, then it is very difficult for me to say, oh, try this or do that, right? So I have to stay with the traditional, whatever they can afford. So, if there was a way, to get, this is just my suggestion, if there's a way to, try to apply for some grants and get some philanthropic money, because I understand everybody has to make a living, I have to make a living, you have to make a living, right? If there's a way, and Shelly and I have been trying to do this to get philanthropic money in so that, if somebody gave you a grant for $5 million and said, okay, provide services for a much cheaper price so that everybody can have, I'm not necessarily endorsing socialistic medicine, but I'm just saying, then it would be really good because I think your services are great and they are very meaningful, but unfortunately, everybody cannot afford them. The SkyPass Foundation, thanks to really, of course, Victor's donation, but really Shelley's effort, that people have been able to get some free PT and free exercise classes and free hospital stay and free travel to clinics.
Well,
anybody out there on the, huh?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just the resources like at the Voice Project, the exercises every day. That's no cost, and that's fabulous. And that's where we can direct. Not everybody can afford us, but we want to help everybody. We want everybody to get the very best care within their budget. And so if we can't provide it, we'll connect them with somebody who can.
And support services, for caregivers and things like that. So,
that's very nice. And Shelley, we should, stay in touch with them and see what all, resources are available for our patients. And when you say no cost care, it's actually not no cost care. It is Samantha Illendary and her expertise of 1 hour and she provides it free, it costs her, right?
Right.
She could be seeing a patient and making $1,500. Instead, she, educates everybody. So, but I like the fact that you guys, say that if we cannot provide it, then we're willing to direct them to, places. So I think that's really important. I think, all of us.
One other thing too, just in DFW, there are 900 choices for independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing, 900 choices. And so a social worker at a rehab may give you 3. There's so many choices. So, if somebody is deciding, you know what, I do think it's time just to get a little extra care, to move to an assisted living, not all the beautiful buildings have good care, and not all the horrible buildings. I mean, a lot of the buildings that aren't so pretty on the outside have incredible care. So that's where too, we can help direct, even for the low income, all levels. We've been doing this a long time and really kind of know how to direct people.
A quick question on the financial aspect. Someone asks if you guys do payment plans.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. And going back to what you were saying about a social worker, would a patient or a family need a social worker if they have you guys on board?
I wouldn't think so.
They
No.
wouldn't. But if they say they've got, they can only afford 3 or 4 hours of care for us. If they are on getting home health, let's say they're getting physical therapy, that home health is going to have a social worker, and they want to take any benefit that Medicare or Medicaid is going to provide. You want to point them in that direction, so we would never want to, if they need help with something and that social worker in their home health can help, then we step back. We're not going to do things that we would duplicate services just to charge.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Well, I know you had mentioned being proactive. If you had to give a piece of advice to our care partners that are tuning in, and to our people with Parkinson's that are tuning in, outside of being proactive, what would you say to them?
Oh, I would say exercise, eat right. You are what you eat. I would just say, just diet, drink lots of water, enjoy the day. Your glass can either be half empty or half full, and just be thankful for every day, and just choose joy.
Yeah. I don't know. No, I ditto that. I think just enjoy every day, and enjoy going outside, and enjoy the benefits you have right now, and take advantage of all the things with Parkinson's, the Dallas Area Parkinsonian Society, all the support groups, all the Zoom classes, exercise classes. I mean, there's a big group out there that they're going through the same thing. And I think you can gain some friendships, and just do the best with what's out there, and know that there's a big support system out there for you.
And I think too is educating your local church. We don't have a social worker at our church, but there are lots of churches in Dallas. I know there are people from all over, but that have social workers, because there is such a growing older population. So I think educating and asking your church, hey, could we start a support group here? Just so, like Hope says, you have camaraderie, and you have people that are going through the same thing, and you have a team. You do better. We do better with other people, and so, if you can't find the program, create it yourself, so a lot of people are in your shoes.
Love that. I recently just had a conversation with somebody who did just that. She was looking for a DBS specific support group, didn't have one. And so she started one, and we actually host that at our building at SkyPass in Irving. It's once a month. Little PSA, it's actually happening this Friday. So if you guys are interested, let me know. But yeah, absolutely. I love that. Take initiative. And if you don't see it out there, consider starting it yourself. And of course, there's lots of support in the community for that. And just love what you guys are doing. You know, I think as we discussed and as Dr. Chitnis was sharing just all the different specialties that are involved with the Parkinson's care team, it can get very overwhelming and hard to manage. So I think that the gap that you guys fill there is just so important. And thank you for doing what you do. And thank you for coming on today and sharing a little bit about that. And again, for those of you guys that are joining live, or really for anyone that's registered for this webinar, we'll be sending out a follow-up email with the link to this recording and with the website and some information about Joy Care. Before we log off, Shilpa, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to add, based on the question that, Jim Armington said about emergency situations. Remember, you can page us. I mean, we have a call system for the movement disorder group. So every single person that's in the movement disorder group, whether it is the doctors and the PA, NP, and the movement disorders fellow, we're all on home call. We basically take a phone call after from 5 p.m. to 7 a.m. The person on call takes a call. So you can certainly call us, and we'll just tell you if it's something like medication management, or like, I'm really off, what do I do now? Right. But if it's something like, somebody fell, broke their hip, what do I do now? And, we can certainly help navigate. So feel free to reach out to your physicians too. I mean, we take call and we do that. Yeah, thanks you guys for being here and sharing your, your experiences and your expertise.
All right, guys. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and stay in touch with us. Let us know if there are any other ways in which we can serve you, and we hope to see you guys soon. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
too. Thank
Happy
you, guys.
Thanksgiving to all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Shelley.